Give me everybody. I'm a little unsteady on my feet, but I know exactly how to make landlords run and hide. What this previous lady said was correct. We need to shut shit down. That should be the motto. That should be the t-shirt. You may have read about me. It was all over the newspaper. My landlord, Lloyd Goldman, formerly Goldman DiLorenzo. DiLorenzo went to jail for racketeering years ago. He was forced to pay me and my elderly mom $500,000 for the years of harassment to get out of our rent-controlled apartment. We had been to court 48 times in my lifetime on false charges. As Marnie knows, everything is corrupt in the system. The corruption starts from the clerk in the housing court who won't let you file a petition. It extends to the lawyers, to the judges. Everybody gets paid off, including the cops. That is why we need to mass together, rise up, and shut shit down. Now, I would not allow my landlord to do it any further. So I spent 2 years getting petitions. I filed numerous court actions. Filing a court action, which is free, and you don't need to pay a fee and you don't need to pay an expensive lawyer, is a way to gain back your power. Everyone needs to rise up together and do a class action and target specific landlords as I did. BLDG management is on their way out. I have a Facebook page entitled, "Why is my landlord not in jail?" I want everybody to spread that word, and if they have photos of their landlords and they have specific stories, I want you to send them to me. Because I personally will go to court on behalf of anyone who wants to file an action and doesn't know how. Lastly, Angelina Jolie has been abused, threatened to be killed, beaten by my landlord. And those of you may not know this. In New York City, you can kill a dog, you can torture and beat an animal, and the police will not arrest the person because an animal is considered property. It isn't a life. So, what we need to do, and what the Green Party candidate was the first to join on, is change the law to make it criminal to kill or abuse an animal. There isn't one politician who represents me in Greenwich Village, not one that's responded to my request for help. So, I want you to spread the word, and again, if you need help, remember, why is my landlord not in jail? That should be the motto for the next 10 years. Never mind bullshit, arguing and this and that, and self-representation. We need to target and make and hold these landlord billionaires responsible. Donald Trump isn't the only landlord we've got to watch out for. New York is filled with landlords. Only one went to jail, Stephen Croman. He only spent 3 months there. He got out and he's at it again. Okay? Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
The year they shot him, the year they killed Robert Kennedy, the year the yippies went to Chicago and the cops beat the crap out of us. Now, I came along when Abby Hoffman got busted for cocaine. And I led the yippies for about 10 years until Abby came back. We brought him back and got him out of trouble. And during the period of time I was doing it, we did something that everybody considered to be trivial. We tried to legalize pot. But you know something about pot? Pot undermines big pharma. Pot means that you can grow some plants in your yard and treat AIDS wasting, migraine, and all kinds of things. You don't have to buy a pill. It's the great equalizer. Everybody can make a little bit of money from pot. That's why it's illegal. Still, Jeff Sessions is still trying to make it illegal. a matter of fact, when Occupy Wall Street occurred, Aaron Kay represented us as the yippies. As you can see, it's a little harder for him to stand up. I was in prison for medical marijuana. I was in a county jail in Wisconsin for bringing marijuana to AIDS patients in New York City. That was my crime. And they treated it as a very serious crime. They said, we're going to give you 8 years for that. And I told the judge, I don't know what you're doing. I'm 64. Everybody in my family dies of a stroke when they're 65. Isn't giving me 8 years a little bit long? Well, a week later, I had a massive heart attack and died on the jailhouse floor, and I was dead for 3 minutes. And I ended up having to go to hospital. The jail gave me bail because they didn't want to have to pay for the operation. They were such cheapskates. And I got out, and guess what I discovered? Because I've been following Occupy Wall Street on television. They had Occupy Wall Street in Madison, Wisconsin. They had Occupy Wall Street everywhere. Occupy Wall Street. Okay, Donald Trump is a reaction to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a reaction to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street is a reaction to the Tea Party. The Tea Party is a reaction to our first black president. Now, we have Nazis marching in the streets. My dad didn't spend World War II in Italy so that we could have Nazis marching in the streets, okay? There's something really fucking rotten in Denmark, okay? Or maybe in Trump Tower. And we have to fucking get rid of these people. You know, these are fucking outright fascists. They are exploiting the division between the 1% and the 99% for really dark purposes. It doesn't have to go good and become a socialist paradise. You could end up in Berlin in 1945 having people dropping bombs on you. So get it together, folks. I just have one more thing I gotta say, okay? We didn't do that whole time without coming up with something really earth-shaking, and it wasn't marijuana, which everybody else had. The yippies invented the cure for drugs, Ibogaine. They just had it on WBUR. Somebody went down to Mexico, took it. They asked him in the morning, you got your heroin withdrawal? No withdrawal at all. This is a single dose drug that obsoletes a large amount of big pharma. It obsoletes Suboxone and Naloxone and Vivitrol, the stuff they're trying to give everybody who's addicted. So they'll be 16 times more addicted because methadone is 4 times more addictive than heroin. Guess what? Naloxone is 4 times more addictive than methadone. They want you to be on a drug for the rest of your life. I'm on heart pills. I'm going to be on drugs the rest of my life because of my heart attack. They want to fucking exploit every single little tiny extrusion of your personality if they can. So we have to fucking clear up the idea that me and Aaron are a bunch of boneheads, Cheech and Chong cartoons that never had an idea, and you're like, we have to, you know what we have to do? We have to bring back unions. Yeah, we have to bring back unions. That'll be revolutionary. Aaron,
take it away.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Aaron Kay, the Yippie Pie Thrower.
Woo!
I was here 7 years ago, and one of my first things I did here was to run the neo-Nazi LaRouchians out of here. I'd go up to them and just let them have it. They knew that I was ready to bring a lynch mob after the LaRouchians. So they went bye-bye. Now we're dealing with a real problem. To deal with these clowns who've been doing Unite the Right in D.C. and Charlottesville, and Jason Kessler. I've been going on Twitter, publishing their home phone numbers and addresses, telling people these Nazis love getting calls at 4 a.m. And there was a mention in the New York Times about a Holocaust denier named Arthur Jones, where he was getting nasty calls during his New York Times interview. So what? He preaches a philosophy of hate. My parents survived the camps, so I feel people's justice has to be meted out to them. And when it comes to Nazi shit, you look at the clowns out in Portland, Oregon, Sandpoint, Idaho. You know, I read the smegma that they put out on the internet. It's worse than Trump toilet paper. And the thing is, we gotta deal with the chumpies much more harshly than we dealt with Nick Scum and his crew. I'm gonna let you in on something. I never broke the story about Break It Here. Many years ago, I went and stole Ivana Trump's garbage. I found, she was over in the 60s. I even found fucking rolling papers in there. So what is it? Maybe Ivanka was smoking weed. Big deal. Look what she turned out to be. Trump's little Barbie doll. And she runs around raising money in Nevada, you know. Right now the race is close in Nevada between Rosen and Heller, you know. Is that close? And there's going to be a blue wave, baby. A blue wave that'll deal with, you know.
We gotta arrest Trump!
They'll take Trump, maybe drop him off in his favorite country, Russia. They'll make him walk through Siberia.
Hang out with Edward Snowden.
And he could hang out with Snowden, hang out with Pukin and all these other fascistas. Hey, it's time. Trump has gotten yippie-style dirty tricks. He has not seen the last of the movement. It's only begun. He can't handle it. You know, hey, do you know that the motherfucker's lawyer was Roy Cohn? I led a march to Roy Cohn's house, and I was arrested after a smoke-in. How was I to know that was going to be the prelude to a chump named Trump and his minions? How was the fuck was I to know that the Republicans and their Democratic Party collaborators would be dancing around the White House? You know, think about it. We gotta be thorns in their side. You know, we gotta give those 1%ers days of hell like they'd never seen before. That they wish they were sorry. You know, like Stephen Miller, Kirsten Nielsen, Steve Bannon. Those people have been confronted in the streets of D.C. when they leave their restaurants. Keep it up. Because they represent Big Pharma, they represent the military, and they hate Ibogaine.
Yeah, Bertha Madras from the President's Commission just said, Ibogaine, we can't have that.
Yes. No,
it makes it too easy for people to get off of heroin.
No.
We can't have that.
No, listen.
We can't have people getting off of heroin.
Bertha Madras.
The entire system will collapse.
No, Big Pharma has the Bush family involved. You know, Eli Lilly Company. So, you know, even though Trump, people think Trump makes the Bushies look good. The Bushies are part of the same sick, sleazy ilk. Hey, Prescott Bush supported the Nazis in World War II, you know? It was these same fucking isolationists that sent people to their deaths in Europe because of this anti-immigration quota. Hey, we're all immigrants from somewhere. And you got this motherfucking lice from ICE running around busting immigrants. Okay, I'm gonna support Howie, fuck Trump, and we are the 99%. Time to make it for the others.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And Allie, take it away. Oh, that fiery energy, that fiery light.
Thank you, Mark.
Allie, woo!
Yes. Occupy. On the spirit of Occupy, I have a lot of signs at home. Of course, made out of on this cardboard. I never slept on the park, but from the first week I was always here, and I used to support the people here at the park. So I just wanted to tell you, I have a lot of signs, and I brought 3 signs today. And this sign, I actually made it right before de Blasio became mayor. De Blasio, we're talking about the tale of 2 cities. And right now, he made sure that the city is really a tale of 2 cities. Okay? Take a look at the housing. How he has this rezoning, especially in black and brown community, and how he's taking those lands and giving to these investors to push people of color out of the city. And he talks about the tale of 2 cities. Yes, I agree with him that he really made it the tale of 2 cities. And the only people of color that he likes are his family. I guess he doesn't really care for the people of color in this city. So this is I have brought this sign, and this sign I bring every year. It's one of those signs that I wanted to bring and let people know what is happening around this nation and around the world. These people, like the Amazon owner, Jeff Bezos, is been
Welcome to New York City, my home.
Yes, like I was saying, Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, as you know, is making this country and the world the tale of 2 cities. Because right now, if you're sitting on the subway that is crowded in one of those cars, most of the people, 50% of the people, they don't have $500 in their savings account. So it is a tale of 2 cities.
Right on!
Yes. Another thing, I just had to check the subject because I wanted to be very short so I give the opportunity to the other people that come in. And when we talk about being exceptional, we do have an exceptional president right now. Okay? And I made this sign before he became president, and I said the sign, you could really say, our pussy grabbing in chief, our white supremacist in chief, big fat liar in chief, the climate denier in chief. And I just want you guys to tell me, I gave you 2 hints, and you guys should know who the person is. So he's a very exceptional. He's an exceptional pussy grabbing in chief. And he's an exceptional white supremacist in chief. He's an exceptional big fat liar. And go on and on and on. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the tale of 2 cities, and right now we're dealing with a big fat liar. And I just heard this morning on Democracy Now! How this pussy that private in chief wants Kavanaugh, even though it hasn't been approved, or we don't have the evidence now, but
Boosie, Craven, and Chief actually wants Kavanaugh, the man who is being accused right now that he tried to rape a woman. So that is wonderful for women's rights right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ken Gale from WBAI. Take it away, Ken.
Mike check!
Mike check!
Mike check!
Mike check!
Don't you miss saying Mike check? Mike check! Don't you miss that? Happy Occupy Wall Street anniversary, everybody! Something else you might remember. What do they want? Remember the mainstream media go, what do they want? They couldn't get their heads around why we were here, right? They're into specializing. But I'll give them an excuse, okay? When we're in school, we have math class, we have science class, we have history class, we have English class. You don't talk about science, math in science class. You don't talk about history in English class, right? We specialize. We can't think of two things at the same time. Occupy Wall Street put it all together. We put together finance. We put together health problems. We put together housing, environment, labor, economics, and racism. It was all related. If you help improve one of those things for the 99%, you're improving all of them. Right? An example of people have been talking about housing. The rents are too damn high. They are keeping New York City from recovering from Sandy. They're keeping us from having good energy in our buildings. 90% of our buildings, the energy is wasted. You buy it and it goes through the windows and the doors. The people who would make the buildings better are working class people. They can't afford to live here. So there's nobody to do the work of making our buildings more efficient and more comfortable to live in. Who puts up solar panels? Working class people. They can't afford to live here. All the people who came up here after Hurricane Sandy because they had skills and experience to help recover from hurricanes. They couldn't afford to live here. So they went to New Jersey, they went to Long Island. Guess what? People in New Jersey hired them. People in Long Island hired them. They recovered from Hurricane Sandy a hell of a lot faster than New York City did. Because the people who did the work had a place to live. There is a connection between housing and the environment. The cleaner the air is, the cleaner the water is, the healthier we are. It's a healthcare issue. And when people are healthier, there's less absenteeism, both in school and at work. So it's a business issue. So polluted air, polluted water is affecting every business in the city. But they're not connecting it. They just go, oh, he's sick again. Why is he sick? Well, maybe he lives in an area with a high asthma rate, and most of the black and brown areas in the city have high asthma rates. But guess what? The air doesn't go, oh, it's not Spanish Harlem, it's the Upper East Side. I must stop now. Polluted air moves. And so the people in the Upper East Side, right next to Spanish Harlem, they have a higher asthma rate than the people below that. Because the polluted air moves. There is a connection between health and racism and environment. Now, where does the pollution come from? From companies that are supported by Wall Street. So Wall Street reform would take the money away from polluting companies so they wouldn't be hurting our health. And labor is interesting. Solar installers will say they love union labor. Why? Because the union labor does it right the first time. So they don't have to redo the job. It's a weird thing about redoing a job. If a guy is putting shingles on a roof and he does a bad job and you have to redo it, nobody's going to say, I never want shingles on my roof again. But if you put up a solar installation on a roof and do it badly and it has to be redone, people go, I never want solar panels again. I don't want any of my friends or relatives to either. So there is a tight labor connection between solar power and organized labor. It's very important. That's why unions like IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, solar panels are part of the curriculum for every apprentice.
I like eggplant.
That's not true in every city. It's true in New York City, it's true in Boston, unless they changed it in the last few years. It wasn't true in Philadelphia. So a kid would join IBEW and not know that solar energy was a career path for them. And of course, another aspect of racism and the environment is environmental racism, also called environmental injustice. They put pollution in poor neighborhoods, usually black and brown neighborhoods. The Navajo, they call themselves the Dinah, in New Mexico have uranium mining all over the place. The uranium miners never clean up after themselves. So people are dying of cancer at a very young age. And the poverty is so bad that a lot of them don't care, right? Leona Morgan, a wonderful activist semester, came out here and talked about all of this. What can we do to help you? Shut down the nuclear power plants, because that'll shut down the market for uranium. They won't mine it, we won't get killed. The worst radioactive disaster in the United States happened on the Rio Puerco River, July 16, 1979. Killed thousands of sheep, hundreds of cattle, and the Navajo are still dying from cancer because of that spill of a dam burst, taking mill tailing down the river. So I know they're one of the many reasons to shut down nuclear power plants, besides their huge carbon footprint. So there are so many connections. I'll go into more detail later over there, but I just wanted to give you an overview that all these different issues that we can call separate issues are interconnected really tightly. And Occupy Wall Street has made a lot more people realize that than ever did before. So hooray for Occupy Wall Street! Yay! All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street! All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street! All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street! It's all up to you guys. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott Andrew Hutchins, and this is my 6th S17 at Zuccotti Park. When Occupy Wall Street began, I was in housing court and so destitute from a long period of unemployment that I was unable to even purchase a Metro card, watching Tim Pool's live cast while I still had internet access. I worked with Occupy Jacksonville when I had a job there protesting Wells Fargo on May 8, 2012, shortly after which I lost my job and returned to New York, where I've been living in the shelter system ever since. Some inquiries brought me to some of the surviving Occupy groups, the encampment having been broken up, but I visited an Occupy education group in Union Square and almost immediately joined OccuRevolve, now Occupy an Unequal World, which led me to Alternative Banking Group, now Occupy the Future. I visited the People's Puppet several times before becoming involved with Picture the Homeless, which trained to Occupy Wall Street and which met at the same time. I participated in numerous campaigns with this organization, including working on the board game Trust Bill, the Business of Homelessness White Paper, showing how service workers in the shelter system rip off shelter clients, front-end workers, and public funds to enrich themselves, as well as testifying before City Council and meeting with members of the council and staff of Assembly members in Albany. The housing situation in New York is out of hand. As Mara Gay pointed out in the Wall Street Journal, thousands of working New Yorkers are homeless because they can't afford so-called affordable housing, which requires at least $40,000 a year, something I've never made with my master's degree, and often 6 figures to actually afford. And de Blasio was recently recorded in a town hall in Canarsie saying that he thinks 10% of this set aside specifically for the homeless is excessive despite increases in the shelter population during his term. Gwynn Guilford in Quartz also notes how misleading official unemployment numbers are. They assume that people have stopped looking for work after their benefits are exhausted, which is probably not true of most, and certainly not for me. I represent Fix the Homeless as part of the Public Bank NYC coalition spearheaded by the primary focus is on wholesale banking so that private banks can't make a profit off public taxes and fees and invest in things that we oppose, such as oil pipelines and private prisons. We are currently working with Mark Levine's office to ensure his proposed study bill does not have the flaws of other city studies, namely that those doing the study had a vested interest in the status quo and oppose the creation of a public bank. Finally, I'm on my third run for a political office with the Green Party, running for U.S. House of Representatives against Carolyn Maloney in District 12, having previously run for State Assembly and City Council with a platform that includes public banking, implementation of a nationwide version of Utah's Housing First program, ending the drug war in private prisons, abolishing ICE, and criminalizing the sponsoring or co-sponsoring of unconstitutional bills such as Schumer's anti-BDS bill, which my opponent co-sponsored. These are some of the ways that Occupy Wall Street has activated me politically from an apolitical independent in Indianapolis who typically voted Republican because their candidates were consistently popular there and didn't seem particularly repellent when I came of age in the 1990s. Thank you.
Hi. Anyone else trying to get high today?
Woo! There's it!
Good to go? Yeah? It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's going. So, hi everybody. My name's Harrison Schultz, Dr. Harrison Schultz, actually. And I'm one of the original architects of this movement. I was around when there was fewer people than this. I watched this grow into something far beyond any of our expectations. And we've done it again time and time since then. After Occupy Wall Street, I helped out with an initiative called Occupy Weed Street, which never got its full due credit for the legal medical cannabis bill that we have in this state right now. We'll be working on more initiatives to push recreational cannabis and psychedelics within the coming year. And yeah, we've done this before. We've been here before, and we're not here to celebrate those old accomplishments, though. We're here to achieve new heights. We're here to have a lot of fun today. We're here to get some work done today, and we're gonna have a lot to look forward to after this day if we do our work right. So obviously the name of my new initiative is 420 Fight Club. My friends and I, we get high, we practice martial arts, and we talk about monetary reform, we talk about monetary history, and we talk about the National Emergency Employment Defense Act. And of course we do this to debunk stereotypes about cannabis users being lazy and stupid, about cannabis being a debilitating drug. And indeed, you know, we use this to also debunk stereotypes about martial artists being violent people, which we know the media likes to exploit. We use this to draw the media in with the lure of sensationalism, but then we trick them and we give them a conversation about economic harmony with the National Emergency Employment Defense Act. This bill was written by Dennis Kucinich after he read this book. And the NEED Act is going to help us take care of the Federal Reserve, the central social issue of our day, which affects everything: the environment, our ecology, our interpersonal social relations, the history of racism and colonialism, all of it. You don't understand capitalism unless you understand the history of the Federal Reserve's role in capitalism. This book is our real weapon to doing this. And so, there's a lot to talk about. The Federal Reserve has been in the news a lot lately. Monetary policy has shifted. The Fed isn't doing open market operations with U.S. Treasuries anymore. They're not doing quantitative easing anymore either. Now, the Fed is straight up paying the big banks that are too big to fail. They're paying them interest on reserves that these big banks have to keep within the Fed to keep the whole system going. The trickle-down economic effect has never been worse, and it's not being talked about in the media, so that's why we're out here doing this. Donald Trump is talking more about the Federal Reserve than the 99% is. This is a problem. Donald Trump seems to have more monetary awareness than the average 99%er because he's more in debt than the average 99%er. He has more to lose with this, and he understands that he's going to get fucked with these rising interest rates that Jerome Powell is jacking up. If you thought the past 10 years have been bad since the recession in 2008, you have no idea what we're in for. You have no idea how much worse it's going to get. And this is part of the reason why I'm teaching my friends how to use weapons, how to defend against guns, knives, sticks, all kinds of blades. These are all legal. We use these in front of the cops all day. The cops know what martial arts are. They understand what they are. They have to do them themselves. We wish they'd train with us. 420 Fight Club is a call to armed insurrection. This is a call to arms, not to promote violence. On the contrary, to promote peace, harmony, through physical, spiritual, mental, self-discipline. Your first homework assignment, if you choose to join 420 Fight Club, is to go out and buy yourself a training weapon that you can bring to 420 Fight Club, just like in the book. Your next assignment, if you can afford to, is to start studying your history. This is our real weapon. This is a fake weapon. This is a real weapon right here. These phones are real weapons too, and I'm going to teach you how to use those also. Every war is a banker war. Every martial art comes from war, comes from a war. You don't really understand the history of martial arts unless you understand the history of the banking system. And most martial artists tend to love history, which is why we're out here working to draw and create safe space for other warriors and masters within our community. And we want to raise awareness for the history. Like I said, if you think the past 10 years have been bad, you have no idea. This is what the bankers do. They offer a lot of free credit, they lower interest rates down, and then once there's too much money out in the supply, they slam on the brakes, they raise interest rates, they make it harder for people like us, 99%, to get credit. This means if you have credit card loans, student debt loans, auto, home, any kind of loans, if you rely on any kind of loans to maintain your standard of living, that's going to get more expensive in the years to come. Things are only going to get worse, and this is what the Depression was. Forget about the recession. We need to start studying deflation. Steven Zarlanga, this is quick. Ideally, and admittedly oversimplifying, society should expand the nation's money supply to keep up with population growth and the growth in commerce and industry, with the value of the unit of currency remaining fairly stable or declining slightly in value over time. Privately controlled money has no motive to get this optimal result. It usually starts by overexpanding the money supply, causing excessive loss in the value of currency. This is inflation, depreciation of currency. This forces the nation into debt, those holding the monetary power, the 1%. Historically, the new money is usually created mainly for production that will be destroyed in warfare, rather than becoming additional productive machinery and infrastructure in society. Then, when it becomes clear to all that they are harming the currency, private control, the banking class, overly restricts or contracts the money supply, just like Jerome Powell, this Princeton-educated multi-millionaire economist, is doing right the fuck now. This dramatically transfers wealth and power from the society as a whole to its wealthiest elements, the bankers and other debt holders. Of these two private money games, over-restriction and deflation are by far the worst, directly and indirectly causing severe problems in all areas of life. Are you scared? If you're not scared, you're not paying attention. Even Bernanke, Geithner, Paulson are fucking scared. They warn that we don't have the tools to fight the next economic recession, but thankfully for us, the former Fed chiefs, Bernanke and his crew, are fucking idiots. They don't know shit about monetary policy. This shit is not rocket science. This shit is easy, is math. That's what they want you to think so that you don't start studying these things. This is very easy. It is called the National Emergency Employment Defense Act. Dennis Kucinich, former Congress rep from Ohio, who's now governor of Ohio, wrote this bill with Steven Zarlanga, Jamie Walton, other people from the American Monetary Institute, after Kucinich and his wife read this book. We have the ultimate weapon that I can't even demonstrate here, called the NEED Act. This is our weapon of mass financial justice. Do you want universal health care?
Yes.
Do you want universal housing?
Yes.
Do you want universal education?
Yes.
Do you want universal basic guaranteed income?
Yes.
Do you want new jobs that actually matter and help the environment? I don't fucking hear you. Want to hear it? Do you want clean new energy?
Yes.
Do you want an end to this corporate-funded election system?
Yes.
Do you want sovereign elections?
Yes.
Will you read the NEED Act?
Yes.
I don't hear you. Let me hear it. Will you call your Congress representative and tell them to read this bill as well, since you have to?
Yes.
I'll help you. Let me hear you. Tell me yes. Thank God. We got people all over from the country, from Ohio. We got a lot of people in Oklahoma. We got people in Alaska. We got a lot of people here making phone calls all weekend already to their reps, and we're tweeting videos of this to our folks on Twitter. We've already hit up a lot of content. We've already hit up a lot of representatives. I'm going to be out here all day, getting more phone calls from you. If you're willing to make a phone call, we're going to live stream it real quick. We'll keep it anonymous. Then I'm going to tweet it to you and to your Congress rep for you to get you in the loop with your Congress rep and with other monetary reformers from across the country. We're not done today. I got other friends coming here to train with me all day. We're going to go in front of the Fed. We're going to have a killer martial arts demonstration. I'm going to teach a little capoeira. We're going to talk a bit about the history of capoeira, which of course comes from slavery. We're going to talk about that history with the history of the Federal Reserve. We're going to get more martial artists interested in this movement. And we're going to train again tonight at 7 p.m. after we've had some dinner. We'll have even more folks coming from after work. My friend, big shout out to William George, is going to be throwing a party in Oklahoma with his friends. They're going to be drinking, partying hard, calling their Congress reps all night. And we're going to get lots more random calls today. We're going to help us at the Fed, help us get a lot of social media that we need to make this a weekly event every Monday. Please, please, please RSV on Facebook for a mass day of action on December 23rd. This is the 105th anniversary of our enslavement to the Federal Reserve banking system. Not another fucking year, because we got the NEED Act and we've already got a great head start on this. We've done this before. We're going to do this again. One of my favorite sociologists, Francis Fox Piven, said it takes about 10 years at least to see a social movement really pick up speed. We're only on year 7. I'm not slowing down. I don't know about the rest of you. It's gonna be completely different by year 8. Forget about year 10. We're not even gonna need to be here by then. No one's gonna have any more money issues by then. You just follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, 425 Club. My name is Harrison Chisora Schultz, 425 Club. Please join me later at the Federal Reserve for martial arts and monetary reform education. Thank you all very much.
Oh, and so you guys, the president, oh my God, Jerry, you want to say something really quick? Jerry, get over here. Come here. Athena, I know you're really tired.
Thank you. Have some refreshment on the table there, not taking away from this wonderful talk.
Not a lot, but a little bit.
Thanks so much for helping me out with that.
One more.
Check it out.
Once again, please do Russell Reyes, my praise, and
Is that for you? Okay.
I did. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about everything.
Jerry, take it away.
Jerry, I saw your post.
Take it away, Jerry!
Jerry, you got your fame already. Your fame.
Here's what happened. Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
All right. Occupy Wall Street created the Rolling Jubilee.
Yes.
The Rolling Jubilee went out to start a charity to raise $50,000 to abolish $1 million worth of medical debt. That was in 2012. They ended up raising over $700,000. They abolished between $30 and $40 million of the debt, medical debt, student debt, payday loan debt, and then they decided that they were going to go in a different direction. And they did.
decrease medical debt. And so far, we have, thanks to donors, thanks to the people that support the cause that we're talking about, which is taking debt, medical debt off the backs of our fellow Americans. We've abolished over $120 million of the medical debt.
So you guys, I just want to say one thing. Jerry and Craig were on John Oliver's show. You know John Oliver, Late Night Tonight? And you can tell the story better, but John Oliver abolished
15 million.
15 million in medical debt. And it was all his organization, which I thought was amazing. So they implemented something, strike debt, right? Strike debt, and you know, rolled it over to medical debt, and it's been very, very successful. So this is kind of what I want to say is like, with Occupy Wall Street, what are the mechanisms that we can use to move forward? One of them is this, you know, so.
And tell them that he also wants to Channel 21.
PBS. Yeah, so talk.
So the deal is, the energy of Occupy Wall Street has only changed and transformed into other forms of protest, other forms of making a difference. As a good example, Marnie Halassa, who is a
City Council, I'm going to run in 3 years again. I'm going to kick the centrist Democrats' asses. That's what I'm going to do.
So, again, when I first showed up here, I was dressed not any different than you guys, but now that I'm a real charity, I get to put a suit on. So nobody has to tell me when they walk by to get a job anymore. I'm very happy about that. So RIPmedicaldebt.org, by the end of this year, we will have abolished $1 billion worth of medical debt. Thank you so much for listening to me.